Brought to you by Thomas Allgaier and Frennis, this edition highlights key LinkedIn posts on future mobility and market evolution in weeks 39 and 40. Frennis supports enterprises with market and competitive intelligence, decoding disruptive technologies, customer needs, regulatory change, and competitive moves so product teams and strategy leaders don't just react, but shape the future of mobility. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're keeping an eye on the mobility industry, well, the last few weeks have felt like a real acceleration. We're seeing policy shifts, big moves in automation, vehicle architecture. It's a lot. So our goal today is simple: give you that high-value shortcut. We've gone through the key insights shared on LinkedIn, calendar weeks 39 and 40, and we've pulled out really three big storylines. There's the robotaxi race and, the economic disruption it's causing. Then there's this new urgency around urban mobility and policy. And finally, beneath it all, the technology stack war fought with AI and data.
And they're all connected, aren't they? What we really saw consistently in the sources was, first, robotaxis moving from just a concept to actual commercial reality. Maybe faster than people thought. Second, the conversation around micromobility. It's growing up. It's less about logistics now and more about core city strategy. And third, businesses, especially fleets, are getting really pragmatic. They want integrated software, solid data foundations to, manage everything effectively.
Okay, let's unpack that, starting with maybe the most disruptive bit. The robotaxi acceleration. Everyone's talking market potential, sure, but what kind of disruption are we actually seeing on the ground?
Well, the numbers are.
Yeah.
They're potentially game-changing for global transport. I mean, if you look at the projections, Lucas Neckerman's analysis, for instance, he's seeing autonomous ride services alone hitting maybe $550 billion in revenue.
Just the rides?
Just the rides. And then if you broaden that out, include logistics, mining, other off-highway stuff, you're potentially talking over $1 trillion within the decade.
That scale is just staggering. But is that just, wishful thinking, or is there real economic grounding for it right now?
Oh, it's deeply rooted in the economics. The absolute core driver is cutting out the labor cost. Alakai Greb pointed this out. Labor can be, almost 75% of a typical ride-hail company's costs?
Right.
You take that away, and suddenly robotaxis can undercut traditional services by a huge margin.
And that's where the different competitive approaches really start to bite, isn't it? We saw Philip Pages highlighting Tesla's model. Very aggressive pricing.
Because they control the whole stack.
Exactly. The software, the vehicle itself, the brand. So they can potentially offer a ride for, a third of what an Uber might cost.
Yeah.
That pressure alone, it could force mass adoption pretty quickly, you'd think.
Absolutely. And then when you look at how they're deploying, we're seeing sort of two main strategies playing out. On one hand, you've got Waymo. They're showing real operational maturity now. Mark Beierschutter shared data. They did 2.2 million rides in just 3 months.
Wow. And the safety numbers are looking good, too?
Very compelling. They're reporting something like 88% fewer crashes compared to human drivers. And Henrik Landgren added that in San Francisco, maybe 25%, a quarter, of taxi rides are already fully autonomous.
So it's not just a tiny pilot anymore, it's a real service.
It's becoming the benchmark for scaling up, yeah. But then you have this other approach, more specialized. Think Amazon-backed Zoox. They launched quietly in Las Vegas. Gaurav Mendarata highlighted this. Their vehicle is purpose-built, right? As Michael Gansler described, no steering wheel, seats facing each other. It's designed purely for the ride.
Okay, so Waymo scaling with retrofits, proving the operations, versus Zoox building a dedicated vehicle and experience from scratch, that's a really interesting contrast in strategy. And it's not just a U.S. race anymore, is it? Carrington Mallon mentioned trials kicking off in Qatar with Pony.ai. And back in the U.S., more competition, May Mobility working with Lyft in Atlanta. Daniel Abreu Marquez noted that. It's heating up.
And that global race really throws the core technology battle into sharp relief. Nero.js detailed this well. It's that philosophical fight, isn't it? Tesla's vision-only system versus, the sensor redundancy path that Waymo, Zoox, and others are taking.
Is there a clear winner emerging there yet?
Not obviously, no. But it seems the real advantage, the true moat, is just the sheer scale of real-world data you can gather and learn from, regardless of the exact sensor setup, which interestingly ties back to something quite profound Dr. Gabriel Seiberth raised. He basically said that solving generalized self-driving, it's like solving a big chunk of artificial general intelligence.
Right.
You're teaching a machine to handle the sheer unpredictability of the real world.
That jump from, complex automation to basically AGI, it does give you a bit of whiplash. But while the tech guys are chasing AGI, the human side, the governance side, it feels like it's lagging way behind.
Way behind. John DeWald brought up some really serious immediate worries. You've got maybe 3 to 4 million professional drivers whose jobs are directly on the line. He used a personal story about his driver, Mike, to really ground this huge shift in, real human impact.
Yeah.
We can't just brush past the workforce disruption.
That human cost, it forces a pause. And the legal side seems just as messy. Kevin Irvin Kelly asked that killer question. A driverless car breaks a rule, who gets the ticket?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it seems like the answer is often just a software update, not an actual fine. That just doesn't seem sustainable as these things scale up, does it? We need clearer rules for automation.
Definitely. Governing a technology that learns and operates outside our current legal boxes, that's the massive challenge right there.
Okay, so regulation is clearly playing catch-up with robotaxis, but that governance gap feels just as important when we shift to our next big theme, managing transport in cities, specifically micromobility and city policy.
Yeah, and maybe the first step for better governance is just changing how we talk about it. Reena Mahajan argued pretty convincingly that we should normalize things like bikes, scooters, walking, make them the baseline for getting around town. Her idea was maybe we should call big private cars macro-mobility. Put the burden of justification on the mode that takes up the most space.
I like that reframing. It's clever.
Yeah.
Frank Eldorf seems to agree, suggesting we could call the sector hypermobility. He sees it as really spearheading urban change by 2030, but only if it's integrated systemically.
Integration, that's the word. Which brings us straight to MaaS, mobility as a service. Now, that initial idea of one app bundling everything, it kind of fizzled out financially, didn't it?
Yeah.
Lars Christian Grodmolson pointed to tier data showing people just weren't really using those dedicated MaaS apps much.
So the bundled app failed.
The consumer-facing bundled app, yeah, seems like it. People tend to use transit apps for transit, shared mobility apps for shared mobility. But the goal of integration, that hasn't gone away. Actually, we saw a big step forward in Germany recently. Berlin's BVG, Hamburg's HOSI HBOD, and Munich's MVG. They signed a strategic partnership to push integrated platforms together. So the focus shifts from the front-end app to the back-end coordination.
Okay, makes sense. And for that coordination to work, cities need some levers, right? Policy levers. This is where Tomas Gabor's analysis on pricing public space comes in. He talked about a potential movement fee.
Right, and this is fascinating. It lets cities use price as a signal. In Vienna, for example, they estimated a floor cost might be around, say, 30 cents a mile. That fee tells users the real cost of using that road space. And crucially, you can use it to penalize inefficiency, like deadhead miles, vehicles driving empty.
Okay.
And you can use it to positively incentivize things you do want, like pooling rides or using robotaxis to connect to public transport.
Using economics to shape behavior, essentially. Because without that kind of strategic thinking, you could end up accidentally killing off useful services. Martin Lefranc flagged this contradiction happening in Brussels.
Exactly. Shared micromobility is seen as vital there, but it's also facing potential extinction because of pushback, new taxes like a per-trip tax in one area, Etterbeek, and policies that just focus on the negatives, the nuisances, instead of the overall benefits.
So policy needs to be smarter, more strategic, not just reactive. Okay, let's pivot to our third and final theme. We're shifting focus now to the back end, the enterprise side. Fleet digitization, AI, and vehicle architecture. This is about operational efficiency.
Yeah, and the biggest trend here for fleets seems to be integration. They're moving past relying on lots of separate dashboards. The real priority now is building integrated data pipelines, things that directly help with, smarter dispatch, better vehicle uptime, smoother driver workflows. We're seeing early wins, particularly in last mile delivery, where they're linking route planning directly with EV charging needs.
And AI's role in operations is becoming much clearer, much more measurable. Giuliano Ligori mentioned its proven value in predictive maintenance, catching problems before they cause breakdowns.
Definitely. But probably the most striking, really specific example of AI in action came from Apurva Mankad. He talked about Web Express, a logistics firm in India. They've deployed an AI agent that actually makes phone calls to drivers. In Hindi, it calls them to confirm where they are and why they might be delayed.
Wait, and AI is calling drivers and having a conversation about schedules.
Exactly. It's handling tasks 24/7 that human teams just don't have the bandwidth for. That's a perfect example of using AI for real, practical operational value today, not just some far-off future vision.
That level of software capability, it must be changing how the vehicle manufacturers, the OEMs, see their own role. Augustin Friedel observed something interesting here, that OEMs are focusing hard on things like OTA updates and modular middleware, because maybe their bigger dreams of owning entire mobility ecosystems are sort of fading.
I think that's a key shift, yeah. It feels like they're potentially being pushed down the value chain a bit. Instead of running the whole show, maybe their future for many is being a vehicle partner, an integrator for the tech players. They face this choice. Do they own the core software architecture, or do they end up conceding that crucial value to others?
And of course, as everything gets more connected, more software-driven, the risks go up too, right? Security risks. SD Peshin highlighted that Renault UK data breach. It didn't even happen directly. It was through a third-party supplier.
It's a huge wake-up call for the whole industry, the whole supply chain. You build these complex, interconnected systems, and suddenly your attack surface is massive.
Yeah.
Digital resilience isn't just a feature anymore. It's fundamental to even staying in business.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, new editions drop every 2 weeks. Also, check out our other editions on electrification and battery technology, next-gen vehicle intelligence, and commercial fleet insights.
And just to leave you with one final thought to chew on, let's circle back to robotaxis and that safety data. We mentioned Waymo's numbers looking significantly better than human drivers, fewer crashes, fewer injuries. It really forces a tough question on regulators and on the industry itself. Should the priority be net progress, adopting tech that's already statistically safer, even if imperfect? Or should we hold out for perfect safety, knowing that delay might cost lives that could have been saved by the safer-than-human tech we have now?
That really is the core dilemma for governing AI, isn't it? Balancing those proven statistical gains against our societal desire for absolute perfection. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the latest market intelligence. Make sure you subscribe to stay ahead of the curve.